There's this moment that keeps happening, and maybe you've noticed it too. Someone's going through something hard, a breakup, a loss, a crisis, and without thinking, you're already 3 steps ahead. You've mapped out solutions, you're managing their emotions, you're holding space while your own world might be on fire. And afterward, when they thank you for being so strong, so dependable, there's this split second where you feel nothing. Not pride, not satisfaction, just tired. Yeah, that's what I want to unpack today. See, there's this thing about being the strong one that nobody really talks about. It's not that you chose this role, it's more like the role chose you, probably way back when you were too young to realize you had a choice at all. Maybe you were the kid who didn't cry when things got hard because someone else was already crying, and the house couldn't hold two people falling apart. Or you learned early that your feelings took up too much space, so you made yourself smaller, quieter, easier. And here's what happens. That version of you, the one who learned to be the shock absorber for everyone else's chaos, they don't just disappear when you grow up. They're still in there, still running the show, still believing that your job is to be the strong one. Psychologists have a term for this. They call it emotional parentification. But I think that term is too clean, too clinical. It doesn't capture what it actually feels like to be 7 years old and already fluent in damage control. To know that if you fall apart, everything else falls apart too. Dr. Gregory Yurkovich, who studied this for decades, found something fascinating. Children who become emotional caretakers don't just develop resilience. They develop what he calls a compulsive caregiving pattern. And here's the kicker. It doesn't feel compulsive to you. It feels like who you are. You became good at things most kids never had to think about. Reading micro expressions, sensing tension before it erupted, knowing exactly what someone needed before they asked. These aren't just skills, they're survival tools. And you've been carrying them around ever since. But here's where it gets complicated. Those same abilities that helped you navigate chaos as a kid, in adulthood, they become the very things that keep you stuck. You're so good at being strong that people forget you might need support too. And honestly, you've probably forgotten as well. Let me tell you what this looks like now, years later. You're the friend everyone calls in a crisis. Not sometimes, always. And you show up. You always show up. Because not showing up feels like betraying some fundamental part of who you are. But here's the thing nobody sees. After you hang up the phone, after you've talked them off the ledge, after you've fixed their problem, you sit there in the silence and wonder when it's your turn. Except you'd never actually ask for your turn. That feels selfish, weak, wrong. Relationships become this complicated dance. You're attracted to people who need you because being needed is the only form of love that makes sense. It's familiar, it's safe, it's measurable. You can point to what you did and say, see, I matter. But when someone offers you love that doesn't require you to earn it, love that just exists because you exist, it feels suspicious, like a trap, like they don't really see you because if they did, they'd realize you're only valuable when you're useful. And before you judge yourself for that, understand this. You're not broken. You're responding exactly as you were trained to respond. Hand-drawn black and white editorial line illustration, sketch-style psychology explainer art. An adult figure stands calmly while faint line-drawn arrows or flow lines behind them trace backward toward earlier shapes or patterns, suggesting learned pathways rather than defects. The figure's posture is more relaxed than before, shoulders slightly lowered. A small, gentle frame, or halo-like outline surrounds the figure, not as perfection, but as understanding. Clean ink lines, minimal shading, flat white background. Very subtle accent color, soft gray-blue, used only on the backward flowing lines. Modern editorial psychology illustration, conveying learned response rather than brokenness. Not the kind that a good night's sleep fixes. I'm talking about that deep, cellular tiredness that makes you wonder if you've ever truly rested in your entire life. Because rest requires letting your guard down. And letting your guard down was never safe. Your nervous system is stuck in a pattern. It learned way back when that vigilance keeps everyone safe, that anticipating needs prevents disasters, that your worth is directly tied to how well you can manage everyone else's emotional weather. So even now, even in moments that should be peaceful, you're scanning, preparing, managing, just in case. Here's something that might sting a little. The world loves people like you. Society rewards the strong ones. We're productive, independent, low maintenance. We don't complain much. We get things done. We make everyone else's life easier. But nobody asks what it cost you to become this way. Nobody asks what you gave up to be this easy to love. And that's the cruelest part, isn't it? You did everything right. You became everything you needed to be. And somehow you still ended up feeling unseen. You know that feeling when you're in a room full of people who love you and you still feel completely alone? Not lonely, alone. Like you're operating on a different frequency. Like you're watching everyone else exist in a way you never learned how. They can be messy, vulnerable, imperfect, and they're still loved. Meanwhile, you're over here convinced that one mistake, one moment of weakness, and the whole thing falls apart. So what do you do with this? First, you have to name it. Not the clinical term, though that's useful too, but your version of it. You have to look at that kid you were and say out loud, that wasn't fair. You shouldn't have had to be that strong that young. Because until you acknowledge that something was taken from you, you can't begin to grieve it. And yes, you have to grieve. You have to mourn the childhood where someone else held the weight, where you got to be irresponsible and messy and still loved. That version of your life existed in possibility, even if it never existed in reality. And losing it, even a possibility, is worth grieving. Second, and this is the hard part, you have to learn a new definition of strength. Real strength isn't holding everything together alone. Real strength is knowing when to ask for help, when to say, I can't carry this right now, when to let someone else be strong so you can finally rest. You've spent your whole life believing that being needed equals being loved. But here's the truth. You deserve to be loved when you have nothing to offer, when you're falling apart, when you're the mess instead of the one cleaning it up. You deserve love that doesn't require you to perform for it. I know that feels impossible right now. I know it feels safer to stay strong, to stay useful, to stay needed. But what if being seen, really seen, even in your weakness, is actually what you've been craving this whole time? That child who learned to be strong too soon? They did an extraordinary job. They kept everyone safe, including you. But they're exhausted, and they need you, the adult you've become, to finally tell them, you can rest now. I've got this. You don't have to be strong anymore. It's okay to be a beginner at receiving care. It's okay to not know how to let someone else hold the weight. You've been the strong one for so long that learning to be held might feel like learning to walk all over again. But you're worth the effort, not because of what you do, because of who you are. So here's my question for you. What would it feel like to let yourself be weak? Just once, just to see what happens. If this resonated with you, subscribe. And if you want to support more conversations like this, join as a channel member. Thank you for being here.